Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. It is Hard Facts on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Here in Port Harcourt, I'm Dio. 12 minutes gone past 4 p.m. As cautions continue. And story cut to the punch forms the basis for the next conversation. It is captioned, Falana demands arraignment dates on detained 800 Boko Haram suspects. Let's take a look at the story now. Thankfully, that's possible. Now, human rights lawyer Femi Falana, SAN, has written a letter to the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, SAN, demanding an update on the arrest of 800 Boko Haram suspects. Now, the Freedom of Information request titled Request for Information on Prosecution of Arrested 800 Boko Haram Suspects was signed by Sam Ogala on behalf of Falana and Falana Chambers on August 5, 2021. The statement read in part, quote, in April 2021, the governors expressed their reservations over the delay in the trial of the terror suspects, demanding for a prosecutorial power from the AGF to enable the respective state governments to prosecute a detained Boko Haram suspect. That request was also rejected. However, by May 2021, the office of the AG of the Federation was widely reported in the print and electronic media to the effect that the federal government had concluded arrangements to prosecute about 800 suspects linked to the Islamic terrorist group Boko Haram, as soon as the industrial action embarked upon by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria was called off. Now, in the light of the above, we request that our law firm be furnished with information with respect to when these Boko Haram suspects will be arraigned in court, since the strike by Johnson has since been called off. Falana asked the AGF to ensure that the information was provided within 7 days in accordance with the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act 2021. Now, why should anyone be overly concerned about the arraignment of these Boko Haram suspects? These and other related matters we're discussing right now. I've got a guest with me in the studio. He's a rights activist and a lawyer. He's also with the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Henry Ekine is here. Henry, good evening to you. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you, Dio, for having me again.
Always a pleasure. Let's start with the question I asked just a moment ago. Why should anyone be overly concerned? Emphasis on overly, because it does appear, depends on perspective though, that Falana and maybe some others are overly concerned about it. I mean, persons have been arrested, reportedly, so says the federal government, 800 of them, Boko Haram suspects. Expectedly, one would expect, it's been said ever so often that the wheel of justice grinds slowly, but it does grind to a halt eventually. And the process of the grinding doesn't begin in court, it begins from apprehension. So why don't we just wait it out and see where the process leads? Should anyone be overly concerned?
Yes, certainly. Everyone should be concerned, and not the least the person of Femi Falana, SAN. We call him FF. He is the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. So speaking here is just in alignment with his position. I said that everyone has got to be concerned. And why so? Because the liberty of every citizen, every individual is fundamental. And then it's got to be a concern of everyone, particularly those in the human rights movement. So I think that's the basis, and that's the foundation of it.
Does the timing really matter? These persons have been apprehended, once again, making reference to that very popular saying, the wheel of justice grinds slowly. I mean, there's several other matters that are pending in court, or haven't even got to court yet in Nigeria. Why place emphasis on this one? Not to say that we shouldn't place emphasis on things, but once again, I imagine Femi Falana has his reasons for possibly overlooking some of the other ones. Maybe he doesn't have the manpower to cover every matter, so you have to drop his scale of preference and decide which one should we focus on. Why focus on this one?
No, not particularly focusing on this one. Every day, the law firm of Falana, I'm quite aware, takes out one human rights issue or the other, and numerous of them are in his hands already. So it's not as if he's choosing and picking this particular one. I think it's come on the front line of the media reportage because of the persons that are involved, and then of course the sensitivity of the matter. Perhaps otherwise on a daily basis, even just on Saturday when we're doing the commemoration of the 81st posthumous birthday of the first national president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, late Boko Haram. There were issues about human rights and then matters that are already in the hands of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, and of course even lawyers who are connected to it. So it's not just one. But like I said, I think perhaps the media has picked this one up because of also the sensitivity and the issue around it. Everything about Boko Haram, of course, will attract attention, even of the media. And again, the number could also attract attention. And then again, the length of time that they've been in incarceration could also attract attention. And then again, the application, of course, rather, let me say, putting in effect the Freedom of Information Act 2011 could also attract attention. This is one instrument that many Nigerians haven't actually explored to take advantage of the provision of the Freedom of Information Act to request information from public officers who have custody of such information. So all of these could be the reasons for the attraction on this particular one.
Still on the subject matter of why Falana and possibly others like yourself are concerned about this. You talked about how every day, if not, or every other day, if not every day, Chambers of Falana is filing some process in courts regarding fundamental human rights issues. And there are several other such individuals, lawyers, prominent, maybe not so prominent.
They've been here in Port Harcourt.
Absolutely. And even organizations as well. Hardly a day goes by, for example, that you don't find Serap filing something in court.
Exactly.
One wonders how they keep up with these things, really, as well. But has there been a breach of any fundamental rights in this case? Because usually with these cases that are filed by the likes of Falana, Serap and others, they usually have to do with matters that constitute a breach, either of the Constitution or some other rights, as the case may be. Has there been any breach in this case?
Yes, absolutely. Our laws allow arresting authorities to arrest a suspect for whatever offense it is. And then these are citizens that are presumed innocent. It does not matter the nature of offense alleged to have been committed. Even when homicide, murder, one of the most capital offenses under our laws, is alleged to have been committed, it's still presumed under our Constitution, which of course is the fundamental law here, that any person alleged to have committed an offense, and it will surprise you that even when caught in committing the offense, allegedly, he is presumed innocent. Because it is not the arresting authority that will determine your guilt or otherwise. Your culpability or guilt or otherwise would only be determined by the court. So now, when these citizens have been arrested and they have been in detention beyond the constitutionally provided period, and let me make this, I've made this argument in several fora. It does appear to me again that the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 35 precisely, about liberty of citizens, particularly in respect to how long citizens must be held in custody, especially without an order of court. When the Constitution says within reasonable time, and went ahead to define reasonable time to be 24 hours, in the case where a person is arrested, and maximum 48 hours, where there is no court within 40 kilometers radius from the place of the arresting authority. I doubt, and I do not think, except I don't know how stretched the northern parts of this country really is. Otherwise, you can hardly find a space between or within a radius of 40 kilometers and you can find a court. So the assumption, the expectation of the drafters of the Constitution is that if a person is arrested and there is a court within that radius, the person should be arraigned, should be taken to court. And it's also, you see, that's also drawn from the expectation that investigation ought to have been carried out. So that as you are arresting a person and preparing in your mind you're going to arraign him, you have proof of evidence already. So you're expected to take the person to court, filing your charge, all your information with proof of evidence to some extent. So the right of these citizens have enormous duration in custody for such a long time and without arraignment, without charging them to court. You could hear, I heard you read that their respective states, perhaps maybe the office of the Honorable Attorney General is overwhelmed, or the prosecutors in that office are overwhelmed, and then the respective states say, okay, give us the fair. Let us prosecute these individuals.
Pardon me, we'll come to that in a moment.
Yes,
so that the states can actually do that. But still following your trend of thought, considering the nature of the alleged crime, the gravity, the sheer severity.
What exactly is the alleged crime?
I mean,
Terrorism.
Terrorism. If not me, you did mention how that murder, no doubt, is a grievous crime. But I think arguably the biggest crime the world is contending with at the moment is terrorism. It does encompass murder, it does encompass everything you can imagine. When you mention terrorism, people literally quake in their boots.
Yeah, but it doesn't overtake murder and homicide. In its gravity, it doesn't.
Possibly so. Okay, I would defer to you on that. So not possibly. I would defer to you on that for obvious reasons. Yeah. So that said, and also considering the circumstances in which this arrest may have been made, it is possible that some of these 800 persons we didn't have it may not have been that the police or security agents were tracking them or bugging them or things like that. They probably were apprehended at some location, possibly whilst they were engaging security agents in a face-off, some kind of a face-off or a shootout or something like that, and then they were apprehended. And once again, considering the nature and gravity of this crime and terrorism, might different rules not be required? Because, you know, terrorism being the globe. I mean, if somebody commits murder here, for example, it may start and end with the aim complex here. But terrorism may have international links that we may need to explore and further investigate to see where the trail ends. So might that explain the delay, if you will?
Okay, no, it does not justify that. There is no justification for infraction of the Constitution, provisions of our Constitution, really. And let me say, do you know what? If arresting a person in the course of commission of a crime, even kind of accelerates your evidence, to put your evidence together and even arraign him. So why would you even be keeping someone in custody for such a long time, where assuming you even caught the person with firearms in possession of lawful possession of firearms and of course an ammunition, and probably actually even shooting at someone? And then with all of this, so you put this evidence together very quickly. The idea isn't that they are going to be exculpated, or that they are not likely to be found wanting on the alleged offenses or crime, but that their rights subsist under our Constitution for the fact that they are presumed innocent. And when court, I said earlier that even when a person is seen to have killed another, those police officers or other security agencies that are caught in extrajudicial murder of citizens, even saying that they shot that man and the man died, the bus driver and the bus driver died, Chima Ikunado and he died in custody, or any other direct act in that regard, does not mean that the person will then just be kept in custody. It is still only and within the powers of the court to determine that indeed, having done this, you've committed an offense. The arresting authorities will do whatever they needed to do. Now, talking about the gravity of terrorism, terrorism is actually inflicting fear at the highest level in the minds of as many persons as the terrorists may be doing so. In many instances, acts of terrorism may not really lead to murder or death. So I still stand that murder, death, having killed someone, I'm not talking about an attempt to kill, remains the extreme of it, because someone has already lost his life. So even in terrorism, why terrorism is indeed considered very grievous amongst states today is the spread and the impact across borders. One, yes. Two, the potential nature of the crime today of terrorism in leading to murder, killing, extrajudicial killing. That's the fear. But it still places terrorism before the extreme of killing, arguably so. However, it is a grievous one. Even the punishment of it is grievous, it's capital in most of our laws now, and it is not to undermine the gravity of terrorism, really. But I just made the point that all offenses are bailable. So even the offense of terrorism is bailable, meaning that arrange for these suspects, if you are not ready to arraign them, for them to be granted bail, pending when you're prepared to file the information or the charges against them.
Based on the FOR request of Falana's chambers, it was stated, as you were going to respond to a while ago, that even the governors demanded prosecutorial power from the AGF to enable the respective state governments prosecute the detained Boko Haram suspects. First, is that even possible? And how would they go about such prosecutions?
It's possible. The procedural power of the Attorney General, whether of the states or the Federation, are such that the Honorable Attorney General has the power to delegate that procedural power that he has to a person that is qualified and competent to handle the prosecution. And that is why at the state level, for instance, the state can take over. They can commence and even discontinue criminal proceedings. That is the power of the Honorable Attorney General of the state. The same, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. Meaning the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation can take a matter over, can commence a matter and discontinue. The same way on the flip side of it, that a private counsel or even the state here referred to, of course, it definitely would have been the Honorable Attorney General of the states. And of course, state counsel in that state, seeking to ask the federal government or the Honorable Attorney General to give us the permission, the power, that fiat, for us to prosecute on these offenses. And whether terrorism is a federal law, the offense committed in these respective states, arguably, and I think I agree, that the Honorable Attorney General of a state, from where these offenses are committed, especially on the ground that these persons, for this long or for however long they've been held in custody, have not been arraigned. So I do not seem to understand why the Honorable Attorney General refused that. But I think the argument then was that, we are ready to arraign them. Because if the application or the request by the respective states is that in the event that you haven't arraigned them and then you're not likely to arraign them soon, let us arraign them. And then that's okay, no, not to worry. We are ready to arraign them as soon as the strikes are over. And then that has stayed long until the vacation is here again.
No, going as far back as 2017, February precisely, a story here published by Channels. Over 800 Boko Haram suspects arrested in Kano. The Kano State Police Command has arrested 840 persons suspected to be members of terrorist group Boko Haram. No, not absolutely certain if this 840 are the same 800 we're talking about right now. But I think it's logical to assume that if not all 800 of them are these guys, or at least maybe a large chunk of them are. So considering since 2017 till now, and they've not been arraigned, or at least thereabouts till now, and they've not been arraigned, do you think this might create suspicion that the federal government isn't taking this fight, in quotes, as seriously as it might be taking other things? I mean, you find people, for example, these days, who are involved in secessionist plans and certain other maybe either crimes clearly spelled out or actions considered to be crimes by the powers that be, and there's some speedy action being taken in terms of prosecution, even commando-style extraditing people from other parts of the world and bringing them back home and taking them to court immediately. Yet terrorists, or well, suspected terrorists arrested years ago have not had their day in court. Might this fan the embers of suspicion?
Certainly, clearly so, and of course that's probably even part of the considerations of those who have continued to agitate, that they perceive some unequal treatment on some of their own in seeming suspicion of commission of some crime. Now, clearly so, that's the picture. Now, but it's worrisome. It's worrisome. I wouldn't really would have looked at it from that angle, but even when I centralize it on the fact of the rights of those suspected Boko Haram terrorists, and then haven't been held, presumably, let's say some of them, or if this is the same number since 2017, or any time in that regard. Now, and they haven't been arraigned. And then, like you said, some persons just overnight are being arraigned very, very quickly, even by the federal agencies, and then the states as well. It's possible that it could begin to sow that seed of suspicion and then feeling of unequal treatment by some of the persons. But beyond that, Dayo, you see, it does not really mean that if persons have been taken into custody and then they've not been prosecuted, then it means undermining the seriousness of the state fighting that crime. I do not think that would be any reasonable measure to perceive, to measure the seriousness the government probably is exerting on fighting against terrorism and the Boko Haram terrorists particularly. because taking them first, even into custody, it's a demonstration of condemnation of that kind of act. That's on the one hand. But the argument on the other hand about not probably prosecuting those who are in custody and prosecuting them conclusively and perhaps getting some of them punished to believably serve as deterrents to those others who are continuing in the offense. On the one hand, we have always said when there is no deterrence, of course, it probably will propel the commission of crime by new persons, new criminals, those who may probably, so that it appears that this thing is a free ride. And then worrisome again that we have heard instances where sometimes you'll be surprised after this long incarceration and all that. The next you hear is that they've been pardoned. The next you hear is that they've been released. The next you no prosecution. What message are we sending to those who are thinking about getting on this same line with these individuals who may have been, and it's such a very serious crime that one would have expected that you are in there. We are not interested in keeping them in custody wherever they are. If you get them arrested, prosecute them. And so we expect that at the end of the day, the law should serve its cause on those individuals. And I repeat, it may serve as deterrent. And also imbue some kind of confidence on those from the other part of the country, particularly with the sensitivity of these issues we're discussing.
It is 13:13 Nigeria info here in Port Harcourt. Falana demands arraignment date of detained 800 Boko Haram suspects, 27 to go before 5. We go for a quick break. We'll return shortly. Conversation will continue, and you're welcome to join it when we return. Do please stay with us.
Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers. Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road.
I still had Factor Nigeria Info here in Port Harcourt. I'm down 23 minutes to go before 5 p.m. The news update is up then. For the moment, discussions continue. Falana demands arraignment dates or detained 800 Boko Haram suspects. Find the details in the Punch newspaper. You're welcome to join the conversation right now. The lines are officially open. My guest, however, still joins me in the studio. Ekine is a lawyer, rights activist, and with the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Henry, welcome again.
Thank you very much, Dayo.
Numbers to call 0817-93-0002, 0817-93-0003 or 0007. We are live on facebook.com/Nigeria Info PH. Leave a comment or question there. Also live on YouTube, just search for Nigeria Info PH. The WhatsApp number is 0809-030-6416. That's 0809-030-6416. To the phone lines right now, we go to Henry from Polo on the line. Henry, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dayo, good evening.
Straight to your comment or question, please. My guest is greeted. Straight to your comment or question, please.
Okay, yes. I want to ask a very simple question. Regards to the Falana's, filing of a case in regards to those Boko Haram arrested members. I want to ask one question. Please, these persons in the Nigerian prison, which for the fact that nobody don't have a lawyer, who will come for them? And what is the lawyer?
What persons are you referring to? Henry, what persons are you referring to?
Yes, like police parading suspects, which I know that they are bridging on the fundamental rights, which the no court of competent jurisdiction have found them guilty, and they are parading it. Is it not the duty of human rights to stand for those?
And we specifically, we're not talking about other persons who have been arrested or maybe have been arrested without trial. We're specifically discussing the subject matter that Falana in his chamber requested or made a freedom of information request. Please restrict your comments or questions as much as possible to that matter. We got Dan on the line. Dan, you're welcome. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Dayo, good afternoon.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, like the question you're asking, because what I'm saying is that what Falana is requesting is very good information. But I'm saying it at the end of the day, since this thing has taken a long time, you see, maybe tomorrow when they charge them to court now, you hear that the DPP say that they don't have case. But this thing has happened in Kami, because when somebody stabbed the woman, they added that the DPP came out that they don't have case to prosecuting. That's how the case ended. So that's what I'm looking at. What does such kind of thing happen? What are we going to do? I want to ask the barrister.
All right. Henry, yes. That the matter is prosecuted or that the persons are arraigned for any crime, including terrorism, does it mean the person automatically is going to be found guilty of having committed a crime?
No, not at all. It's just like we would all desire. We would always say, oh, hear me. The principle of fair hearing would still go on, meaning that the trial will open, and then it will depend on certain circumstances, whether the prosecution proves its case beyond reasonable doubt, and whether in fact the offense was committed by examining the evidence presented before the court. Just as simple as that. So it is until all that the prosecution is required to do and is done diligently. Now, every crime alleged has ingredients in the substantive law that you must prove before the person will be found guilty by the court. So if you successfully do so and the court agrees with you, that is when the court will make a verdict, finding the person guilty and reading out the sentence as provided under the substantive law.
No, it doesn't matter how seemingly grievous the crime is alleged to be, or how widely publicized the crime is. But I mean, what comes to mind right now is the Elusakin matter. How that for years the state would have us believe that this man is capable of blowing up the entire country, but the courts even determined that this matter should not even have come to the courts in the first place. We got Chidi on the line from Station Road. Hello, Chidi, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
You're welcome, go on, please.
You see, all these honest craftiness that the federal government is exhibiting or portraying, we know all these things. If these 800 Boko Haram members are from Southeast, to the best of my knowledge and observation, the matter will be a big one. If these Boko Haram people to the best of my knowledge and observation, are from the southwest. The master will be a very speedy one. All this they are doing, that we know all these things. If they think we don't know, we know all these things they are doing. My happiness is that since San Falana have requested for, they did not discontinue. They should request it to the.
Hello, Chidi. Chidi, are you still there? I guess Chidi's gone. Once again, 0817-93-0002 or 0003 or 0007 are the numbers to call. Via WhatsApp, good afternoon. Daya, we're not too serious people. With all these terrorists going on all across board, the next election, a lot of persons will vote, even worse people into position of trust, because of little money offered to them. We have to go beyond calling on radio and take matters into our own hands if we are to change this country. Not so many relish. Relish, if you refer to exercising your constitutionally guaranteed rights, for example, taking peaceful protests or going to elections to cast your votes, and voting people you trust are going to work in your interest, then absolutely right. Please take matters into your hands. But if you're referring to anything that's illegal or unconstitutional, I strongly recommend that you do not even think about it, or anyone else for that matter. Ogbonna from Abuma, you're welcome. Please go on.
Yes, good evening.
You're welcome. Straight to your comment question.
It is quite obvious that before someone is found guilty, the court has proven that the person is guilty. But where it baffles me is because the independence of judiciary is not being certain. The reason is very simple, because the executive house automatically entires judiciary. So if the independence of judiciary should be practicalized, that is where you will now see the dividends of what.
Are you speaking specifically to this particular matter of the 800 Boko Haram suspects?
Yeah, I'm speaking about the particular matter.
Okay, so a question. I'm going to slow down. So a question: how has this matter thus far indicated to you? If you can hear me, my question is: how has this specific matter indicated to you that the judiciary is not independent? Can you explain that?
Actually, what I'm saying is because sometimes, because of the abracadabra, the judiciary is doing because of the entire.
Ogbonna, specifically to this matter, forget abracadabra elsewhere, specifically to this matter, how have you been informed that the judiciary is not independent, specifically to this matter?
Hello.
Ogbonna, great to hear from you. But Henry, is there any indication at all from this matter of the 800 Boko Haram suspects that suggests any complicity by the judiciary, or that suggests the judiciary might be handing gloves with anyone, whether in government or government?
Was only invoked, or the court is invited only to get into a matter when the matter is brought before the court. In the criminal justice system, it starts with arrest. At that time, the courts haven't come in. It gets to detention at the police. At that time, the courts haven't come in. It gets onto arraignment in court. That is the threshold. That's the point that the courts come in. You would have taken the suspect to court, and it is at that time we'll be able to examine the conduct of the court, whether the court is biased or otherwise in its finding. I haven't examined the evidence before it. So what we're discussing at the moment is about, hey, arresting authority and then the state. You have arrested, you have detained. It is presumed that you have investigated. Arraign these persons, on the one hand, on the plank of right, on the other plank of, come on, we don't want to hear any story. Bring these people before the court and get your hands off as detaining authorities, arresting and detaining authorities. Let the courts determine their culpability or otherwise. And then the public should know what it is with them.
So until they are charged to court, until they are arraigned, the judiciary has no to play in all of this?
No, not yet.
Okay. Can a citizen go to the court who feels affected by this and pray the court to order the Attorney General to arraign them or fast track the process? Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible by the mechanism of mandamus. When a public officer has a public duty to perform and then he fails or reneges or slows or in any way refuses to perform that public duty, if it is affecting any individual, the individual has the power to approach the court and say, court, look at these facts, mandate or order this public officer to perform his duty. And one of the constitutional duties for the Honorable Attorney General to perform is to commence criminal proceedings. And again, you have the background to this. You have arrested, presumably you've investigated. Perform your public duty to arraign. And I think the first step, of course, Femi Falana and his firm are doing is they want to be availed with the information about this. Because remember, they were not involved in the arrest and in the investigation and all that. So by the time you come through the instrumentality of the Freedom of Information Act, and then you request of this information, and the proper custodian of that information, which is government, and of course the Honorable Attorney General's office, and say, give me all the information. And if they provide that information as the law requires within the 7 days or otherwise, then of course you'll be able to see whether he could approach the courts or anybody in that regard to demand that these persons be arraigned or you let them go.
Once again, the lines are open. Numbers to call 0817-923-0002 or 0003. There's also 0817-923-0007. WhatsApp is on 0809 030-6416. And speaking of WhatsApp, imagine such a huge number of terrorists arrested for years but still yet to be arraigned before the courts. Now, Prince Will, they are suspected terrorists. They've not been proven so yet in court. But back to Prince Will's message. Please, who are deceived in this country? There seems to be a conspiracy as someone touts some group of terrorists as businessmen, but condemning and arresting innocent freedom agitators, while killers have been rehabilitated and recruited. Indeed, so that they can help us. That's Prince Will from Chiba once again. Good evening. Some months ago, the Attorney General of the Federation announced that 400 Boko Haram sponsors and financiers have been arrested and will soon be prosecuted or charged to court, even before Sunday Igbo matter came up. If actually we are in one country, why have any of our lawyers or human rights activists now not saying anything about it? What a nation. That's from Samuel from Elime. Or Samuel, if you're not just overly overtaken by emotions or sentiment and you've been following the conversation, the reason we're having this conversation is because somebody is saying something about it, and has gone beyond just saying something about it. He's actually filed a Freedom of Information bill to the Attorney General requesting information what's happening with this matter. So nobody's keeping quiet about it. People are actually doing things about this. But Henry, do you suppose that civil society organizations, rights activists such as the one you belong to, yourself and several others, do you suppose that they're doing enough to address the several ills and injustices inherent and may have even become the norm in our country at this time?
It cannot be said to be enough. Not that the efforts of those human rights activists and then, of course, the organizations are not perhaps even to the extreme of their abilities, but it's because of the enormity of these cases, these instances. Nigeria is a very large nation in population, in size, but comparatively, the human rights movements, particularly those that are serious, the foremost of those, including the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, appear to be overwhelmed. If I tell you on daily basis the calls that I'm the National Publicity Secretary, and the calls that come in across the states, the platforms we have, I manage them. I know how much of the calls that come every day. The branches are across the country, yet we seem not to have been doing or to have done enough, so to speak. We're here in River State, for instance, but I was driving the other day in someone's car and he was asking me, we just finished a radio program. He spoke with me and said, are you guys here? And apparently with all of this, I come here, we talk about CDHR, we have the state executives here, we do our intervention, we do our trainings and all of that. But perhaps because we need more of these. So it's not quite a case of not doing enough. But we need a lot more to be done by these ones existing, and a lot more of those organizations to even spring up and then be committed to these issues.
I hope we got this name right. Pebble from Rumokoshi. Hello, you're welcome. Go on, please.
Yeah, is that Dayo?
Absolutely. You're welcome. Straight to your comment. Yes, you're welcome. Please straight to your comment or question.
I'm highly interested with I'm interested in what you're discussing on the street there.
Go ahead.
Concerning the detention of the Boko Haram suspect that were arrested. Yes. As a matter of fact, to be very sincere with you, the what is happening in this country is terrible. Yes. Things are happening in a manner that some people think that Nigeria is their personal property. Otherwise, what is happening in this country manifests serious intimidation and tension on the part of the government. Otherwise, bandits who have been killing people, many people, burning houses and go, are arrested. And what are they detaining them for? They should arraign immediately. As a matter of fact, such things should not last more than 2 weeks in custody or a week. They should arraign immediately. And the Attorney General should be able to come out and tell Nigerians why he has delayed or why he's delaying in ensuring that the suspects are arraigned. But it's because of this delay, because of this punk plague, making those who are behind the so-called bandits to feel that they are untouchable. Otherwise, if Nigeria could have a network of arresting Mandikano who is outside this country, I wonder why Nigerian government should not be able to arrest all those who are behind these bandits. Somebody sometime showed on screen that he was taking pictures with the bandits and all these things and go and told them how we can go about and get this thing done. Yet Nigerian government is not reacting to it. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. We should speak the truth.
People, great to hear from you. Thanks for the contribution. I wish we had one more time. I was going to ask you a more general question on the subject of human rights in Nigeria and how extremely difficult it is in many, if not most instances, to enforce a person's rights. And even when you get a judgment of court, it's extremely, if not difficult, if not impossible. Even as we speak, in spite of the numerous conversations and discussions, in spite of all that happening with so-called reformation of the Nigeria police force, we still have people languishing in police cells across the country for weeks, months, years, without trial. And the various... But we have to wrap it up right now. I'm sure we'll have a lot more time in the future to have these conversations. But thanks for joining it, and especially thanks to my guest. Ekine is National Policy Secretary for the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Henry, many thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, always, for having me.
We've got a break right now, top of the hour, time for the news update. And in case you're wondering where or who is offering any free medical service at the moment, especially if you're in need of it or if you know someone, we'll discuss some organization is offering that in a moment after the break. Do please stay with us.